Hi, I'm Lindsay Bushing, and this is Work in Prog-mess.
She is a work in progress, may not figure it out, but she'll do her best. Try to play it cool, but is always stressed.
But no matter what, she's a work in prog-mess.
That was good. Let's hear it.
Well. Look who's back again. Welcome back to Work in Progress, everyone. It has been accidentally a little bit of a long time. That was intentional / unintentional on my part. Intentional because I meant to take a slight little break, and then unintentional because it just developed into a 2-week break, and then a video, and then not a video, a podcast, and then a month break. But I do have good reasons, and the show is back and going to be better than ever. A lot of podcasts I watch, they kind of are out the gates running, and then after about 9 or 10 episodes, they kind of pump the brakes a little bit, whether they mean to or not. There's a little revamp period, a little break, kind of get your bearings, because it's kind of a lot to just go and then never stop. So we're back, and I do have a good excuse. I was traveling a lot in the month of June. I went to Europe for the first time, and I also went to Canada twice, the end of May and beginning of June, and then at the beginning of July. And it was just, my computer sometimes takes like 5 to 7 hours just to export my podcast from Premiere Pro. I don't know if my computer's going to explode because it's so old, or because sometimes the pod's so long, like an hour plus. It's like many gigabytes with video and audio, and the software that my MacBook Pro it's only from like 2019. Like, I feel like it should be able to handle what's going on, but I don't know. You know how Mac likes to make things stop working after a little bit. So it just takes so long, and there was no way I was going to be able to film so many episodes before I left, get them edited and uploaded, like scheduled to be uploaded, ready to go every week. Like, my computer was not going to be able to handle that, and I just was not going to be able to handle that. That was a lot. So I ended up taking a little bit of a break. Honestly, it was kind of much needed, and now I'm back and better than ever, and I have so many fun ideas for the pod, and I missed sitting here talking away so much. It is very fun and therapeutic for me, and I missed all my little besties that maybe do or do not listen to this podcast, but in my head we're all besties. So and today I want to do just like a quick, maybe not quick, me, I'm never really to the point, just a recap of my recent travels and what's been going on in my life. And then I wanted to set my intentions for the second half of 2024. Funny story, I did have 2 videos pre-filmed before I left on my world travels. However, I felt like they were kind of rushed, and I keep saying videos. It's a podcast and a video. I'm not like a YouTuber. I just felt like it felt kind of rushed, and it wasn't the best thing that I wanted to put out. So instead of just already putting out things that I'm unhappy with or I don't like completely, I just was like, whatever, this is not that many people listen, this is the opportune time to take a break and get resituated and go travel and all this stuff, and we'll come back better and redo those episodes. So I actually did film a setting my intentions for the second half of 2024 at the end of May, because this is I used to be blonde, so this is my former blonde coming out. Just kidding. Lots of smart blondes in my life that I love, but I was like, oh yeah, it's the end of May, June. That's going to be 6 months into the year. And now it's July, and I'm like, oh, now we're the next 6 months of the year, not at the beginning of June, we had only been 5 months in. So this video actually, this episode, oh my God, makes more sense doing it now. So yeah, and it's going to be better than the one that I had done. I've had more time to think about the important things in life and what I'm reflecting on for the next 6 months. So yeah, I think it's going to be super great. I feel like I definitely chose an interesting and not exciting, but exciting in terms of, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening, week to return, because, there was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Today's Monday. It was on Saturday. I was at a baseball game. That's in our life. That's where were you in this moment when? So I've got a Michael Jackson moment for that. I've got a Kobe Bryant died moment and a Donald Trump assassination attempt moment. So, it's really making things in the US of A super fun, and I'm nervous and scared and just have general anxiety for what this all means for everything, because who really knows? So yeah, if everyone wants to, there's so many other things going on in the world still that we must not forget about. But if you need a moment of respite from all of these crazy things, I welcome you back to work in Prog-mess, because I am reliable and I am still a Prog-mess. I'm still a mess. Maybe in my head I feel a little bit more together, but you can always count on me for being a mess. So yeah, let's get into it. So I went to Europe for the first time, and we went to Greece and Switzerland, and this trip actually meant a lot to me. Well, number one, because I went with my boyfriend and his family, and it was literally a once-in-a-lifetime trip, but also I was supposed to go to Greece right around the time that my dad initially got sick. I believe his surgery was on July 27th, so also 2 years of that coming up very, very soon. Shout out Dad, woo, he's still doing very well. I think MRI is next month, so we'll keep you all updated. But I had a trip planned with my best friend Ashley to go to Greece for 2 weeks. So he had a surgery on July 27th, and I think we were supposed to leave on August 3rd or something. And obviously I had to cancel that trip, and that was the third or fourth time I had to cancel a trip to Europe. I was supposed to go to Croatia with my professor on a summer study abroad in college, and COVID happened. I was supposed to study abroad another time in college, and it fell through financially. Just a lot of things. So it sounds stupid and whatever. It's been my lifelong dream to travel and explore and see the world, and I have always wanted to go to Europe. Obviously, I can assume that many people do want to do that, but that's just something I've always wanted to do in my life, and specifically I was supposed to go to Greece, so the fact that I got to go, and it was with a bunch of people I love, and it was the best time ever, just made it all the more special. It was indescribable, and I genuinely cannot believe how much better I can believe it, because you hear all that bullshit about how our food is all the time, but the feta cheese there is genuinely next level. I will never, unless I go back, which I really want to, I will never have feta cheese that delicious again in my life. I didn't even know the complexity of flavors that feta cheese could have. And I honestly could just eat a whole block of it by myself, and I kind of did on several occasions. And I also had the best grape leaves of my entire life. Those are something that my friend Allison used to eat a lot, and she introduced me to them. And it was something that I didn't really like here, to be honest. In the US, I don't love grape leaves, but in Greece, oh my God, those are the best. They're so good. I could eat them for every meal. I ate them so many times. They were insane. I think there was slightly less dill and maybe parsley or whatever other herb is in it. And for some reason, I'm kind of sensitive to the taste of herbs. I am a person who thinks that cilantro tastes like Irish Spring soap, and I also kind of feel that way about parsley. They just have very strong flavor profiles to me, and I think whenever it's in a dish, it kind of just overwhelms all the other flavors, and that's the only thing I can taste. And that did not happen with any of the food I ate over there. So I don't know. Do we have artificial, like, is there GMOs in our parsley and cilantro? Because here I do not like, there I can tolerate. So yeah. And they have, in Greece, there's this thing called a freddo espresso or a freddo cappuccino, which is also the coffee order that I'm going to be dreaming about for the rest of my life. I'm sure it's simple to make. I've looked it up. There's just something about drinking one of those in Greece that, I'm never going to be able to replicate here. Also, I don't have an espresso machine. So maybe one day when I can afford an espresso machine, that will become part of my reality. But I think it's literally just like espresso, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of cream. I don't know. The coffee creamer for milk, so delicious. Thick and luxurious. I don't know. Everything was so delicious and amazing. And so we got back last Sunday, so it's Monday now, so it's officially been a week since we've been back. And probably like 4 times last week I ate like a charcuterie board or just like cheese or a caprese, like salad of some kind for lunch or dinner, because I just couldn't give up the way and the mindset I had been eating. And now I've been transitioning back into like my boring old ground turkey salad, Caesar salad, tortellini for dinner bullshit, whatever I find at Trader Joe's. But for a while I just couldn't let it go. So we started off in Greece. Henry and I flew from, this is not my first super long international flight. I don't know, I've definitely covered this, but in 2019 I went to New Zealand and I flew from Fort Lauderdale to LA and then LA to Auckland. So that was like a 13-hour flight, I believe. It was like 20 hours total of traveling because I had some layovers. But so this was not quite as long, but it was about 9 hours. It was 8 hours and 55 minutes, I think. We flew from Tampa to Frankfurt, and then we had a very long layover from like 9 to 5 p.m. in Frankfurt. It ended up being about 8 p.m. because there was a giant thunderstorm, and as we're boarding the plane, I see this like neon sign that says electrical storm warning in all caps, like right next to the plane, and I was like, should we be boarding this big metal contraption in the middle of an electrical storm? I don't know how I feel about that, but we boarded anyway, and then we were stuck on the plane for like 3 hours because there was a giant thunderstorm. Eventually it passed. Then there was no pushback vehicles to help us. Takeoff was backed up, so much drama. So we ended up getting to Athens around, so then we flew from Frankfurt to Athens, and we ended up getting there like midnight or something. And in the most wonderful fashion, the man who picked us up from the airport's name was Hercules. And that just kicked off my trip to a great start. I loved it. I was like, yeah, baby, this is exactly what I'm here for. Henry somewhat speaks German, but after our long stay in the Frankfurt airport, we decided why did I say like that? Frankfurt? In the Frankfurt airport, I told him he's not allowed to tell people he speaks German because people in Germany speak way too fast and he could not understand them. So that was a little embarrassing. We told one person and then he couldn't keep up, and then I was like, you're not allowed to tell anyone that anymore. But we did have a very long layover there. We wanted to go explore Frankfurt, but when we landed, it was absolutely pouring. That airport is ginormous. It took us like an hour and a half to like get our bearings, get out of the terminal, go see where our other gate was, and then to find customs. It was a long ass line to leave, so I knew it was going to be a long ass line to get back in, and neither of us slept very much on the flight. We left Tampa around 6 p.m., I believe, and we got to Frankfurt at like 9 a.m., and I would say maybe I slept like 3.5 hours, and Henry maybe slept an hour, so we were pretty freaking tired when we landed. So after all of that, we decided just to hang out in the airport and sleep in various locations. Eventually, we had looked up there was a lot of crazy stuff going on at the Frankfurt airport, but we found these things called nap pods, and it is a legitimate bed that you can rent in like a private room. So towards the end of our day, we rented that for about 2 hours and got a really good quality nap in a little twin bed that we cuddled in. And then we woke up and ran to our gate because we were worried we were going to miss our flight. And then, we sat there for another 4 hours. So that was great. But we eventually made it to Athens. Everyone else kind of got there a bit earlier. They flew direct from Chicago to Athens. So that was nice. But when we got there, there was food for us, and immediately fell in love with moussaka. I literally ate cold leftovers of it, and it was still the most delicious thing I've ever eaten. I think on this trip I had at least 3 of my top 5 best meals of my life. Maybe all 5, who knows. But the food was insane. So, kind of crazy, but I was very lucky to be able to go on this trip, and our Greece trip included sailing the Saronic Islands. We rented a catamaran, and there was 11 of us. And then we had a boat captain, and then like a chef deckhand lady named Anastasia, who, I love you, Anastasia. You are the one who fed me the best meals of my life. And we went with Henry's cousins and his aunt and uncle, and it was just honestly, and his sister and his parents. And it was truly the most fun, like, loving, wholesome, best time I ever had. And thanks to John, one of the family members, I have a good breakdown of everything we did. So we were on the boat for a week, and we were sailing the Saronic Islands, which is to the west kind of side of Athens, and then over where like Corinth and Peloponnese and everything, the other part of the mainland is. So it's kind of, we went to that part of the mainland and then some islands around there. And I wish I could live that life. Genuinely, we like woke up every day. We're in a beautiful location. We're fed breakfast. Either swam where we were or sailed to a swimming location in the most beautiful light blue turquoise delicious water you've ever seen in your life. And then we'd play around there. We'd snorkel. We snorkeled over some ruins called the Sunken City, which I had the best time doing ever. Like, everyone was back on the boat, and I was, after 30 minutes, and I was out there for like 2.5 hours just looking at the ruins because we're literally snorkeling over them. It was insane. And if you know me, I took I have a degree in anthropology. Oh my god, I just wiggled my camera really bad. Sorry, guys. I have a degree in anthropology, so that shit is genuinely right up my alley, and it was so much fun. But yeah, we'd swim, whatever, get back on the boat, have the most insane, delicious lunch of my life, that Anastasia somehow whipped up in the smallest kitchen I've ever seen. And she always had the perfect amount of food for 11 people. Like, we all got the most perfect servings. It was like, I don't know, 5 different main entrees to choose from every day. We had like, I can't even begin to explain how good it was. And then we'd usually sail to an island and spend the afternoon exploring the island, and then have dinner on the island, and then hang out at night. And yeah, so we visited. Well, on our first day, before we got on the boat, we went and saw the Acropolis, which was so cool. Very, very cool. And what I personally thought was, obviously the Acropolis is very cool. I don't know how much of it is still the original structure. We had this debate a lot how people felt about reconstruction and restoration of these kind of archaeological sites like that. Do you think that they should be left to waste away in ruin and become true ruins, or do you think we should work to kind of preserve these things and keep them around for, our study, tourism, education, all those kinds of things? I personally, maybe it's selfish, but I I don't want full-scale restoration of, let's say, all archaeological ruins, but I do believe in preserving what is there, and if you can restore maybe parts that are deteriorating in a way that keeps them intact and everything original, but just provides them with more support, I'm totally into that, but I don't know how I feel about completely reconstructing it and kind of selling it as the real thing, you know? So yeah, the Acropolis, I don't know how much of it was original, but it was beautiful nonetheless. But it was very cool because there is literally ancient, not like vandalism, like graffiti on them. There are crosses and different etchings in the stone that date back, I think, to the Byzantine Empire, enforcing, like, you know, Christianity and stuff like that. And I just think the concept of graffiti that is also ancient, not as ancient as the ruins themselves, but the ruins are so old that they were a tourist attraction, you know, 1,000 years ago still, and then people sadly defaced them, but that they have been something people for literally thousands of years have gone to visit is kind of sick. Like, that's really cool. So that was really cool. We didn't even go on a tour or anything. I literally was walking and I heard one of the tour guides start talking about that, and I stood there and listened in because I was like, that is amazing. And oh my god, it is so hot and steep in Greece. There are so many very large hills that are at such a drastic angle to walk up, and there was some old ass ladies, some just walking up there perfectly fine. I was like, you freaking go, girl. Like, I am proud of you. This is why potential blue zone. This is why people are living for a long time. Okay, so, you know, Friday, do I have the right thing here? Oh yeah, so we got on the boat on Saturday. Then we kind of hung out, you know, we sailed to this place called, on Sunday we sailed to a city on the mainland called Epidavros, which was just like the cutest little quaint local town. And we ate at a citrus orchard restaurant. I don't know, it was very cool. We were literally sitting under orange trees. And of course I got moussaka. That was like our first real dinner meal, and it was awesome. On Monday is when we went snorkeling at the Sunken City, and then we sailed towards Poros. And before we got there, we went tubing in the sea, which I have been tubing in the ocean one time, but it was pretty flat. And then, you know, I've been tubing in a lake many times, and let's just say tubing in the sea, we all got our shit absolutely rocked. I had some fake nails on. I lost one, popped it in my bathing suit. I did keep it, didn't fly away, but I think we all had some spinal cord injuries after that, but it was really fun nonetheless. And then we sailed over to Poros, and then we kind of walked around. We had dinners and tapas style, and then we were all obsessed with and fell in love with Poros. So instead of leaving in the morning to go start our journey somewhere else, we stayed there and had breakfast in Poros, and we had the best chocolate croissant any of us have ever laid our eyes upon or tasted. And then we did some shopping, and I got some cute stuff, and then we headed off to swim at this island called Dokos, which is uninhabited except for, I believe, sheep. So we went and swam around there, and this is when the water started getting like the most insane color of blue I have ever seen in my life. And it was so hot outside, like scorching 90s, upper 90s, and the water was it was not freezing, but it was so gorgeous and refreshing. And the Aegean Sea is extra buoyant, kind of like the Dead Sea. So you literally float so easily, and I am actually a good floater just in general. For some reason I have been bestowed that gift, but I was with a lot of people who are not originally good floaters, and they were like, this is amazing. We were floating like, it was crazy. I felt like I was like popping out of the water, genuinely. When I had my Tevas on, my feet would literally not go under the water. And I actually went swimming in the pool the other day for the first time since I've been back, and I was back at normal buoyancy of water, and I was like, this feels weird. Like, I actually feel like I'm sinking. It was kind of funny. And then after hanging around there, we went to this place called Hermione, which is like Hermione from Harry Potter. So, we all geeked about that, and then we had a really good dinner, and the landscape of Hermione was so gorgeous. It was kind of like an ombre blue water situation till it was clear on the shore, and they had a lot of octopuses hanging out to dry. A lot of octopi were eaten on this vacation. Some people thoroughly enjoyed them. I did not. After I ate a bite, I'm not a big fan of the texture, and I also just kept thinking about how intelligent they are, and then I swore off the octopus. But others enjoyed, so whatever floats your boat. I don't like that the little suckers, like when you bite the tentacles, sometimes they pop off. Like, it freaks me out. The next day we headed to Spetses, and before that we were sailing there, and on some sides of the island there are caves, so we went snorkeling. We kind of went climbing in the caves, me and Sav and Willie. We did a little bit of a baby cliff dive. The caves are really cool because I don't know what kind of, obviously it's all like exposed and eroded rock, but there's so many shells within the face of the rock that it was unlike anything I've seen before, and it was just super cool. And side note, Greece has the biggest fucking sea urchins I've ever seen in my life. They are terrifying, and they're ginormous, and they were everywhere, so I was glad the water was extra buoyant because you could kind of just like float on your tummy when you're snorkeling and look down and didn't have to worry about your feet accidentally catching on them because they were so big. Spetses is really cool because there are no private cars. Oh, it's raining. There are no private vehicles on the island, so everything is either like walking. There was some mopeds. I don't know like where that kind of fits in their laws against private vehicles, but most of it was horse and carriage, or like not like a buggy, but yeah, like a horse and carriage, like the ones you take around Central Park, or just horses. So, I felt so safe in Greece, but I was consistently worried that I would get run over by a horse and carriage because a horse did neigh at me a few times. And by then we had eaten about octopus maybe 3 days in a row and just a lot of Greek food, so we needed a little bit of a break. So we had some pizza, and it was actually really freaking good. We also had the best water any of us have ever drank in Spetses. I don't know. Europe's weird. Well, I can only say where I've been, but water is not free. You have to pay for water everywhere you go. It's like 50 cents. It's not a big deal, but that is interesting. That you have to pay for that. And they also, in Greece, every time you order something, they bring out the check. Like, you don't have, like, they just bring it out. So we order waters, brings out the check. We order sodas and drinks, brings out a new check. They just keep adding everything, so I guess like whenever you're ready to go and done, like you just have it, but it's, I don't know, sometimes we have like 14 checks by the time you're done, like it was kind of weird. And then you go inside to pay, which was funny. So Spetses was super cool. That was a very, the city that we were in Spetses, the city as well, and it was all like on the side of kind of cliff-like there was a lot of, sea walls, and the water would splash up on it, and it was very scenic and gorgeous. Everywhere was so beautiful, like literally insane. And the next day we sailed to Hydra, and Hydra's cool also because they have donkeys. We wanted to ride the donkeys, but the people were a bit aggressive and kept changing the price, so we did not do that. We could not find a spot. Most of these places we couldn't find a spot like at the marina, the harbor, or whatever, so we'd kind of drop anchor and then get in on our we'd take a dinghy ride over to wherever we wanted to go. But on Hydra there's actually a path like carved into the side of all the cliffs where you can walk to the city. So we docked and then we walked there, and it was so hot, but it was a very beautiful hike. And then later that night, we took a water taxi back to the boat, which was kind of cool. They literally bring you right up to your boat, and then you just hop out. But we went for a very long walk / hike to the city, and then they had it was in the ocean, so it was kind of like a swimming hole where you could do some cliff jumping into the water. So we, after we walked all that long way because it was so hot. We went swimming and everyone was cliff jumping and I wanted to cliff jump. And someone who went before me told me they had water in their nose. So they were like, hold your nose. And I was like, all right, yeah, whatever. And so I held my nose, and as I jumped off the cliff, I think I must have like swallowed or something, like the air, and I was holding my nose. So when I hit the water, I popped my eardrum, and immediately the most like sharp, intense pain of my life was going through my head and my ear. And I also hit the water so hard that my whole bathing suit top came off, and water still got in my nose. So I'm choking on water. I have the worst pain ever in my ear, and I'm trying to cover up my boobs before I like surface and flash all these children. And so totally exploded my eardrum, like crawled out of the water, almost threw up because I was coughing all the water out of my nose and lungs and mouth and throat and whatever. Then I was a little bit of a grumpykins. The pain kind of, when you do that, it subsides after about 10 minutes. It's like extremely, extremely, extremely painful, and then it subsides quickly. So that was good, but then I was having a little bit of anxiety that I was going to get vertigo or anything. Luckily, I did not, and I just couldn't sleep on that side of my ear or go under the water anymore, but I did forget both of those things a couple times, and I survived. I couldn't hear properly for a bit, but Willie couldn't hear out of one of his ears either, and it was the opposite ear of mine, so I just told him we would stand next to each other with each have our good ear out to the side, and together we would be a whole person that could hear correctly. So that was fun. Don't recommend exploding your eardrum. That wasn't fun, but cliff jumping was fun until I hit the water. And every time I jumped in the water off of a rock or the boat, somehow my bathing suit top just went flying, and I had to secure the goods before I got back up to breathe air, and it was very stressful. And then we saw the most gorgeous sunset ever in Hydra. We had a little bit of trouble finding dinner, but Henry ended up finding this really good place that up until then was the best dinner out we had eaten on the trip. It wasn't, I would say typically Greek per se, but I had risotto and it was so good, and it was like fancy, but not too fancy because we were all pretty cash. And it was just so good, and the sunset was like right there. We were on the cliff. It was so beautiful. Yeah, it was great. And then the next day we were supposed to go on a hike in the morning, wake up early and go on a hike to the monastery, the Greek Orthodox monastery, up on one of the cliffs in Hydra. And we woke up and there was a fire, a blazing fire. And so we were talking with our captain, and he was like, yeah, I woke up at like 6 a.m. and I smelled whatever. I came and looked, and there's just huge plumes of smoke. And it was kind of directly where we were going to hike. So we're like, okay, obviously hike canceled. And we were so worried because there had previously been a fire on Hydra literally the week before. And Greece is so hot and dry in the summer that there are a lot of fires, and it's kind of very devastating to their environment and their landscape and the people. And some of the pictures online are crazy. Like it's wild. And because Hydra is kind of remote, and I believe they don't have cars either, there was helicopter firefighters like dumping water on the site. So that was kind of crazy. You know, you can only extinguish it as fast as you can get water there, and it was one helicopter dropping water off. So we were pretty concerned. So we kind of scooted our boots out of there. And then luckily, as we were leaving, Anastasia, who was our cook, and she's also Greek, got the intel that it was a planned fire, and because I guess in Greece they don't have like a lot of room for landfills or trash storage, that they choose an island to burn a lot of the garbage on, and guess what? That's what they were doing. So big sigh of relief that there wasn't a devastating fire, but also don't love that they have to burn all their garbage, but who am I to judge? So then we headed on over to our final destination, Aegina, and we went on an insane, I call everything that is like more than 20 to 30 minutes a hike. We went on an insane hike. It was only like 30 minutes long, but it was such a steep incline, and it was so hot, and Anastasia was worried about us because several people have recently died in Greece while hiking in these extreme temperatures. And our little stupid butts were like, whatever, we're gonna do it anyway, we'll be fine, Anastasia, thanks for worrying about us, it'll all be okay. And we did make it up there, but when we got up there, we were the only people that had walked up there. Everyone else did drive, and I was like, I can totally see how people have been dying going on these hikes. But it was another ruin. It was I genuinely forget, the Temple of Athea. That's what it was. And it was really beautiful. There was some graffiti on that too. There was a little store up there. We all had a Coke Zero in a glass bottle. Everywhere you go, the Coke Zeros are in glass bottles, and they are literally fucking divine. That shit slaps. I was like, every time I took a sip, I was like, this should be a Coca-Cola commercial. I might have to redo my ranking system specifically for European glass bottle Coca-Cola on a hot day. Like, fit that in somewhere. Might come after McDonald's and Magic Kingdom Disney World Fountain Coke, because it was so good. And then we were on the side of Aegina that was slightly less populated, I would say. So we weren't really sure what we were going to do for dinner. And then we got a recommendation from the captain, and we ended up finding this place, and it ended up being the best dinner I think we had on the whole trip. The food was insane, and I genuinely had the best mojito that I've ever had in my life. I had 2 in a short amount of time, and I was feeling it, and it was so good. Oh my God. Everything was so good. And then we were supposed to stay there overnight in the harbor, but we had beautiful weather all week, literally sunny, not a single cloud in the sky the whole time, not a lot of wind, but, so this was Friday, we're getting off on Saturday. That night, a pretty intense windstorm was coming, so we decided to sail back to Athens and just sleep, in the marina there, and it ended up being super fun. We all got up on the top of the boat with Captain James, and we're sailing at 11 p.m. and he was having a good time because he doesn't get to sail at night with everyone that often. We had some blankets, we just chilled out, and then docking was pretty funny. There's always people to help, which is genuinely so nice. This lady literally had just come from a concert, and we threw the ropes and she helped us dock, so it was great. And then we had a little bit of a day in Athens. We just went and did some shopping and got some breakfast, whatever, and then we headed off to Switzerland. And oh my God, Switzerland is bougie as hell. It's literally insane. Every other car is BMW, Audi, Porsche, Aston Martin, Rolls Royce, Jaguar, any bougie car you can think of. Some that I've never even heard of. Pretty crazy. So we stayed in Zurich for one night and had a bit of a crazy time because we got there kind of late, and everything apparently closes at 10 p.m. So we were running around the city looking for food to eat. Eventually we found some, but it was a bit traumatizing. And then the next day we headed off to Interlaken, which was kind of our home base in Switzerland, because it was a good middle ground for everything we wanted to do. And we get there, and we got an Airbnb right down in the city center. Now it wasn't the 11 of us, it was just me and Henry's family. And we're walking, there's this beautiful landscape, whatever, and then just in the middle of the fucking valley, there's a Hooters. Just in the middle, next to the Rolex store, just a fucking Hooters. And I was like, what? This is our American export. This has made it to Interlaken, Switzerland, the most, one of the most affluent countries in the whole world, with the highest, what is that rating called? Life satisfaction. I can't think of the word right now, but I was Hooters made it here. So we did not eat at the Hooters, but, I was shocked that of all things, Hooters was there. We also went to we didn't go there, but in the train station they had a McDonald's, and European McDonald's is crazy. They had fried shrimp and chicken tenders and so many sauce options that I have never seen in my life. It was crazy. But Switzerland was so fun and literally unreal, and it was kind of crazy because it looks a lot like New Zealand, kind of the mountains and the valleys, like within the Alps. Very reminiscent of the South Island of New Zealand, so that was kind of cool. The water is so blue, it's almost green. It's like the most insane color you've ever seen. It's straight like glacier melt from the top of the mountains. And it's fresh. You can drink it. Apparently, in like Zurich and Interlaken, all of the like water fountains that we would normally have for decoration, you can drink out of and like fill up your water bottles and stuff. So that was really cool. We didn't find that out till later, but Henry did stick his face in a river to drink some water. So that was pretty funny. I came back from like somewhere because he had been separate, and I was like, "Where's Henry?" And they're like, "Oh, I just went down to drink some water out of the river." I was like, "All right, he really wanted to do that." So I'm glad Henry got to drink some beautiful icy cold river water. He said it tasted like dirt, but in a good way. And he lived to tell the tale, so that's all you can ask for. But we visited Interlaken. We went to some little small towns called Lauterbrunnen and Grindelwald. In Grindelwald, we did this gondola up to this point on this mountain. Don't know what any of it was called. I can't remember. But it was about, I think it was like 7,000 feet up, and it was really cool. The gondola was very long. It was like a 20-minute gondola ride, but it was a cloudy day, so eventually we just got consumed by clouds, and it was gorgeous, but very eerie and ominous, and I felt like I was entering the Twilight Zone. But both Grindelwald and Lauterbrunnen were beautiful, like the quintessential little Swiss village that you've always dreamed of. So gorgeous, so green, so lush. Lauterbrunnen has like 14,000 might be too many, but somewhere between 7 and 14,000 waterfalls just in there. We did this hike up to these insane waterfalls that kind of carved these cool patterns and everything in the rock. It's called Trommelbach Falls. And it really just makes you realize how powerful and full of energy flowing water is. It is, you're like standing there in awe of the sheer power. And then Grindelwald, just the cutest little village, and I just wanted to roll in the hills of the green grass and have the best time ever. And then we did that like the second day we were there, and then the third day I went paragliding with Henry's sister Nora, which was the most insane thing I've ever done in my entire life. Like, I thought the trip couldn't get any better, and then it did. I went upside down, which was terrifying when he kept telling me we were gonna do it. And I was like, okay. He's like, tell me if you don't like it. I was like, all right. And then the second he did it, I was like, this is the most fun thing I've ever done. It's better than a roller coaster. You don't even feel like you're upside down, but it is truly an indescribable feeling. I bought like the photos and the video that came with it so I can remember it forever, because it was, oh my god. And you're so high up. We were like soaring over the green lush mountain and then over the town, and you can see the rivers and the lakes, and we're doing flips and twirls, and it was freezing fucking cold, but it was the most amazing thing I've ever done. And then we went to Bern, which is technically the federal capital of Switzerland. And that was gorgeous. We went to this cool rose garden that Henry found, and we had the most disgusting cheese plate I've ever seen in my life. Like that. Like, I am personally not a stinky cheese person, but I was with people who were stinky cheese people, and even they were grossed out by the stinky cheese. Like, the mold and the funk and the stank on this cheese was insane. Switzerland, I respect your cheese game, but that was just like out of my league. Like, I can't even handle a gorgonzola, and that shit was stanky. So, we didn't enjoy that, but we did have some Hugo Spritzes, which, shout out Nora, she introduced me to those. They are like the more sophisticated older sister of the Aperol Spritz. It's got elderflower, it's got gin, it goes down like water. It is so good. I had those basically everywhere we went, and they only kept getting better. And then we saw some insane roses. We walked around. We went to a chocolate factory. I bought chocolate for everyone I know to bring it back. That was quite the mission. And then we returned home and had a little charcuterie board night to make up for the stinky cheese. We just got some cheese that we liked. And then on our last day, we went to Lake Lucerne, and we took like a river cruise to this the base of Mount Rigi, and then we took the this little like bus train thing up to the top, and it was kind of foggy as well, so you couldn't really see, but at one point the fog did clear and you could see for a really long time, and it was gorgeous. And then we just walked around, kikied, giggled, and then that night we trained up back to Zurich, and then we left in the morning. And Henry's family went home, but we continued our fun travel adventure all the way from Zurich to Toronto. And then we landed in Toronto, got a rental car, and then drove 2 hours to Collingwood, Ontario, to our friend's wedding, who I was in the wedding. Darcy and Mac, we love you. It was the best time ever. It was so fun and gorgeous. And we went straight to a rehearsal dinner because I was a bridesmaid and I was also the MC of the wedding, which was pretty cool. The wedding was beautiful, and I know it was their special day, but I did feel like it was also my special day. I felt like a wedding celebrity after I did my MC job because many people told me I did a good job, and I was so nervous, so that was really nice to hear. And it was a lot of fun. We went straight to the rehearsal dinner, somehow stayed alive, got up early the next day, partied all night till 2 a.m. And then the next day is when the wall hit, and we were going to go explore Toronto. And instead we drove back to Toronto and got to our hotel, and then slept from 3 p.m. to 4:30 in the morning when we had to go to the airport to catch our flight back home. So it was a whirlwind 2 weeks, but it was so fun, and I hope all of that goes to show you that it would have been incredibly hard for me to get some pod episodes up. I don't even know. I didn't even have phone service half the time because apparently my phone plan does not have like an international monthly package you can choose, and instead it just has like you pay $12 a day. So there's no way in hell I was just going to continuously pay $12 a day for 18 days. So I went phone free for a long time, which was also glorious. Like my screen time was maybe 1 hour a day while I was gone. That was really nice. It was just fun to connect and hang out and spend time with people you love and laugh and get tan. But I got so tan in Greece, and then by the time we were in Switzerland for like 3 days, it was cold and I was wearing sweaters, and I felt like my tan was already gone. So I don't know if I look tan anymore, honestly. It was gorgeous. It was glorious while I was there. So we'll always have the pictures and the memories. By the end, I was a little bit too tan. I kind of looked a little bit dirty. I felt like I had like a 5 o'clock shadow all over my face. So that wasn't great, but the rest of it was super fun. And yeah, all my dreams came true. I collect magnets everywhere I go, so I came home with some fucking loot. I also got postcards everywhere I went. I told all my friends that I would send them postcards. I bought them. I even bought stamps. I wrote them, and then I just could not find anywhere to drop them off / forgot. So all of you are getting tried and true European postcards with a Euro stamp on them, but also an American stamp because they will be mailed from the US. I did write them when I was in Europe, so it comes with love, but it was just a challenge to try to get those out. We were so busy every day and constantly on the move. So yeah. Somehow, I don't think I was really affected by jet lag. I mean, we did sleep from 3 p.m. to 4 a.m. And then the day we got home, I took a little nap, and then I went to sleep at a normal amount of time. And then on Monday and Tuesday when I came home from work, I, went to bed at, 8 o'clock because I was tired. But other than that, I guess that's a little early, but I really did not have trouble. I don't even feel like it was jet lag. I just feel like it was pure exhaustion from being go for 18 days straight. The amount of physical activity and lack of sleep and movement and just traveling we did was insane. So I feel like that is to be expected. And the flight from Switzerland to Toronto was not as bad as Tampa to Frankfurt. So that was really good. We slept. It was in the middle of the day. We left at 9 a.m. and we got there at 1 p.m. So I slept for probably 5 hours, and then I was ready to go. So that was really good. It was the trip of literally a lifetime. I hope I'm fortunate enough to go back to both of those places someday, hopefully sooner rather than later. And I'm just so grateful to get to be part of like such a loving family that cares about me and wants to take me on their travels with them. I feel very lucky, so that was awesome. And we were gone for a while, and I got a lot of time to just kind of chill and think about the important things in my life and get some perspective on stuff. So that was much needed too. And that kind of brings me just to setting my intentions for the rest of 2024, which before I do that, I want to talk about this new book that I have been reading. Reading is a strong word because it's just a page a day, so I've only been doing it for like a week, but it's called A Calendar of Wisdom, and it's by Tolstoy, and there's a whole kind of like prologue to the book talking about how this was his last work before he died, but he considers it like his greatest life's work, and he read it every single day for the last several years of his life, and he just keeps talking about how he collected the wisdom of centuries in one book, and what a privilege it is to be able to speak with the wisest minds of all time throughout history. I want to find exactly where he says. It went by many names, but he said, this is before he published the second edition. He said, during this last day I have descended from the spiritual and moral heights where I was all this time when I communicated with the best and wisest thinkers of the world when I created my circle of reading. So he kept referring to all these people that he quotes in his book as, the best, most wisest thinkers of all time, and what a privilege it is to get to converse and learn from them on a daily basis. And he wanted to make this accessible to the masses, so we kind of translated these quotes and compiled them into a book. He changed them a little bit, but he kind of just prepared a little manual for reading every day that, I don't know, it's like Buddha, Kant, Socrates, Plato, like literally all of the greatest philosophers in human history, and then he picked a theme for every day, and so it goes through a full calendar year, and you're supposed to read a specific page every day. They're labeled with the dates, and honestly, I have been enjoying it. I have been highlighting my favorite messages from each day that I have read so far. And he does explicitly state that you should, one, not take everything as is the word, like you should kind of digest it and interpret it and take what applies to you. Obviously, don't misconstrue things and make them totally not correlate to what the original purpose of the quote or whoever was saying this in the first place meant, but also kind of take what applies to you. Not everything that each page says every day is going to apply to your life, but just take what little pieces of it does and try to kind of work that into your everyday life and thoughts and how you go through and move through life and things. So I just wanted to share a couple of the ones that I liked so far. This is just a selection from one quote from Buddha. Oh, and then every day he has one quote that's italicized, which is like the main point of what he's trying to convey that day. Oh, and also, apparently this book is the first ever translation of this book from Russian into English, because as we know, Tolstoy is Russian. It says, this is the first ever English language edition of the book Leo Tolstoy, considered to be his most important contribution to humanity, the work of his life's last years. Widely read in pre-revolutionary Russia, banned and forgotten under communism, and rediscovered to great excitement, A Calendar of Wisdom is a day-by-day guide that illuminates the path of a life worth living with a brightness undimmed by time. Unjustly censored for nearly a century, it deserves to be placed with the few books in our history that will never cease teaching us the essence of what is important in the world. And what's crazy is I don't even know where this book came from. I literally saw it on my bookshelf, not even my bookshelf. I have a little I have a bookshelf in this room where I record, and then in my living room I have like a little stand next to my TV that I also have books on. And one day it was genuinely like I just saw it there, and I don't know if I had it in my collection previously. I don't know where it came from, if I borrowed it, if I got it as a gift. I asked Henry's mom if she gave it to me. She said no. I don't know where it came from, but I'm so glad it found its way to me. And I think that's a bit serendipitous. So also it does, it pulls from religious texts at all. I myself am not a religious person, and I want to do an episode on religion and all of that. So, again, you take what is most pertinent and relates to you, but I do think there are things from religious texts that are applicable to normal life as well. Okay, so I wanted to read a couple because I feel like this, kind of ties in perfectly with my intentions for the rest of 2024. So this is a piece of a quote from Buddha. I'm going to read the whole thing, but then I'll tell you the part that I highlighted. He says, "To vanquish sin, you must accept that the root of each sin is in a bad thought. We are all only the consequences of what we think." So the part that really stood out to me was we are all only the consequences of what we think. And this perfectly goes with one of my intentions that I want to set for myself for the rest of the year. And that is just to stop being so hard on myself in the way that I almost naturally kind of think negative things about myself, or go to directly to things that are wrong or negative, or things that I have done wrong, instead of positive things. Like, why am I always criticizing myself? I had this discussion with Henry's parents on the trip about how sometimes I do things for other people even though it's against what I want, or I am hard on myself for not getting things done, even if it's something as simple as putting my laundry away after I do it, leaving in the basket or whatever. And so for the rest of this year and moving forward, I really want to consciously work on how I speak to myself and the thoughts that I think, and how what are you laughing at? I want to consciously work on what and how I think, and how that shapes my reality, and how I look at myself, and how I perceive the world. Because if you are consistently thinking poorly of yourself, or that you can't do it, like, you're literally never going to be able to do what you set your mind to. We are all only the consequences of what we think. And I think this relates to my anxiety as well. So often, in rumination with OCD or anxiety, you are so stuck on something that it becomes your entire reality, and you cannot break out of the frame of mind. And it kind of just completely consumes you. So I really want to utilize, especially this quote, "We are all only the consequences of what we think," when I'm in those moments, to make myself snap out of it and be like, what you are thinking, what you are afraid of, what you are saying about yourself, it is not even real. It is not true. You have built this world in your mind, which you are now stuck in, but it does not exist. It is not accurate. It is not correct, and it does not define you. And I also want to instill in myself that my failures, or certain things I don't like about myself or think about myself, those things do not define me as an entire person. Just because this happened does not mean I am a bad person. Just because I did this does not mean I am not worthy of whatever. Little aspects of your life do not paint the picture of totally who you are and what your life looks like. It is like life is like a little mosaic, and each little thing is a little ceramic piece that makes up the greater picture. And that one piece is not the whole picture. It can be a part of it, but it is not the entire thing, and it does not define who you are. And I also want to instill in myself and set the intention that even though you may have done things in the past or been a previous version of yourself that you are not proud of, or you do not like, or there is something you want to change, that is always possible, and the you that you used to be is not the you that you always have to be. There is room for evolution. There is room for change. our world is the consequences of what we think. So if I choose to think about myself differently, think about life differently, go about life in a different way, my life will change and move in the direction that I wish it to. So basically, just nothing is stagnant, and you do not have to live within the consequences of your thoughts if that is not what you like or what you want. If that makes any sense. This day I liked a lot of them. Intellect is the quality that makes us different from animals. I think that is just true on such a basic level. Benny is being so cute. He just yawned and licked his lips. Oh my god, and he laid down. I love that little guy. I missed him so much when we were on our trip. So intellect is a quality that makes us different from animals. Intellect gives us power, but it is also kind of the thing that causes us such rifts, and I think, as you will go to see, that people do not always use their intellect to their advantage. Buddha said, in meditation, in speech, in life, in studies, I never forget about the most important thing, the requirements of the intellect. I think this applies in a lot of ways, especially in the world that we live in today. I feel like people, even myself sometimes, we are lacking critical thinking, we are lacking media literacy. There are a lot of things in which we forget the requirements of our intellect and how to apply these things that we know and are fundamental to ourselves and our brains to real life circumstances. And I think that is something important that I would like to make more prevalent in my life. As he says, in meditation, in speech, in life, and studies, I never forget about the most important thing, the requirements of intellect. Another one I liked from this day was, if a self-confident man talks to a wise man, he will not understand the truth, just as a spoon will not understand the truth when it gets into the mouth. And I think this is so important, especially in today's world, kind of where ego and self-confidence comes into battle with truth and understanding, and how this creates a lot of rifts between people, because I think this scenario makes us unable to empathize and understand with what one another has to say, and being like so in one camp of I am right sometimes does blind you from the truth. So this is also something that I intend to place into my life within the next 6 months. Sometimes we can all be defensive. Sometimes we can be overly self-confident. And I think that how this quote came into play with me and what I want to utilize it for is even within looking at myself. You know, sometimes we try to blame other things on other people about how we feel about ourselves, or it's their problem, it's their fault, or I got fired because my boss sucks, this happened because of that. And I think there is kind of this facade that we are letting ourselves believe in, that we are not responsible for our own actions, and it is other people's problems, and we do not have the power to change and fix things, and we are the self-confident man who is blinding ourselves to the truth. So within the next 6 months and moving forward, I want to look at these things dead in the eyes and take accountability and responsibility for things that maybe I haven't before or that I want to change. Example, you know, like I'm messy and I can blame that on Henry and say he doesn't clean up or contribute or whatever, but at the end of the day, like, I am just putting things off on him that I cannot accept about myself, or things I want to work on. It's their problem, it's their fault. I'm not taking accountability. I'm not reflecting and looking into myself and taking responsibility for these things. And I think that is truly like the ultimate level of self-awareness and kind of like harmony with oneself, when you can accept and admit to your faults and then you actively pursue changing them and making them better, or working in the right direction in whatever way that is for you. And that is something I definitely am implementing currently in my life and want to continue for the rest of the year and the future, because I think that is how you kind of really become true to yourself and love all the parts of yourself. You have to love and be honest with yourself about even the parts of yourself that you do not like. And that is the only way you can heal them or move forward or change them and grow. And I just think that's really important. And like in myself, like there are qualities in myself that I recognize that I am trying to work on. Let's say, I don't know, an example, you're lazy at work and you get in trouble, but you're blaming it on because your coworker, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, you need to sit there and recognize that maybe you are not putting in the effort that you are claiming you are, and that these repercussions and consequences of you not putting in the effort are because you did this. And you take responsibility and you say, you know what, I was like that, but just because I was like that does not mean I have to always be like that. And I want to be better, and I'm going to actively pursue being better. And just scenarios like that. And I think that applies to lots of people's lives, especially to me. Not that specific scenario, but you know. And that's something I definitely want to work on and become more. I feel like that's the only way you truly can know and understand yourself, is by recognizing all of your faults, or just taking accountability for things. The last one on this page is people spoil their life I couldn't read this, I had to read this 5 times. It kind of made me feel dyslexic. People spoil their life who neglect their intellect and say it cannot guide them. I'm just let y'all chew on that one because you got to read it a couple times to make sure you understand it. Okay, and then this final page, there was a lot I liked on this as well. When you make an effort not to blame other people, your life becomes much easier, but very few people make this effort. Now, this directly goes exactly back to what I was talking about as well. This directly goes exactly back. I'm so redundant sometimes, guys. I'm so sorry. This goes back to exactly what I was just talking about. I want to stop, even in the smallest things in life, stop blaming things you are unhappy with or you can't take accountability for on other people, and just own that shit. Own your shit. When you make an effort not to blame other people, your life becomes much easier. When you are not constantly putting things on other people, it's their fault, blah, blah, blah. Like, you become more self-aware and you have the power to change things that make you unhappy and that you do not like. And life becomes easier. I genuinely believe this, and I think that quote is great. He doesn't have who that is specifically from, but this one says... Oh, okay. This one's kind of long. In the lives of the saints, there is a story of the hermit who saw in his dream a monk who had died long ago and who had been rather weak in his life. The monk was in an especially lovely and honored part of paradise. The hermit asked, "How were you granted this place with all your weaknesses?" And the monk answered that it was because he had never blamed not a single person in his life. I just think that's powerful. You know, this monk was perceived as weak, but if his weaknesses were owning all of his shit and being like, yes, these are my weaknesses, I'm not hiding them, it is no one else's fault, I'm a flawed individual, then he is in the most highest level, honored part of paradise because he truly knows himself. And that is what the journey of spiritual whatever is it not? Knowing and owning yourself and accepting yourself for as you are, and not blaming things on other people or lying to yourself about who you are and what you have done. Owning your shit, basically. And I think not blaming for other people for things in your life is honorable. I like this one too. Therefore, this is actually from Romans 2:1. I don't know how you say that. That's embarrassing. Therefore thou art inexcusable, O man, whatsoever thou art that judgest, for wherein thou judgest another, thou condemn thyself, for thou that judgest doesn't the same things. Is that what the Bible reads like? That is Old English. That is hard. Basically it's saying when you judge others, you are condemning yourself. So there is no place for judgment of others, which is interesting because I feel like this is coming out of the Bible, and it seems like not a lot of people practice what they preach. So I find that interesting, and I think a lot of people should maybe reflect on that as well. And then this last one is, unless you yourself are sinless, do not say a single word about the sins of others, but be quiet. If you make it a habit not to blame others, you will feel the growth of the ability to love in your soul, and you will always see the growth of goodness in your life. I just think that is beautiful. Who are you to speak poorly of and judge others when you are exactly in the same boat? You are not perfect. You are not without sin. You are not holier than thou, or whatever, however you want to say that. Mind your damn business. Focus on yourself. Don't blame other people for things, and do not judge others for whether it's exactly the same sin or situation as you or others. Do not judge others because you are not perfect. And I also think that is not reflected in a lot of people's practice, what they preach, and that people should consider that as well. So, that's something I want to implement in my life. I like to think of myself as a non-judgmental person, but I think on some level, even subconsciously, we all kind of noodle around with judging others sometimes, or we are not always the kindest. And I just think keeping this in the forefront of my mind will allow me to really exemplify this and not judge other people for things they have done. You do not know anyone's situation. You do not know the circumstances of things. You are not better than them. We all have sins. We all do things. And again, mind your own damn business. So I really, really, really like this book. I'm only, like a week in, but I highly recommend it. I think it would be fun. If anyone wants to get it, we can do this together. I'll definitely probably try to, at least when I'm recording the episode, say one of the quotes that stands out to me the day that I'm filming, because it's every day. And I'd love to impart this wisdom and truly kind of share Tolstoy's message. He wanted to make this accessible to everyone. So if this is my little way of doing that, I am more than happy to participate. All right, I've got a couple other things on my list that I just wanted to touch on. Let's cross out that. Well, I just wanted to let everyone know that I have finished Bridgerton, and now I'm on to Queen Charlotte. And if anyone has any recommendations for any books or shows like that, I'm gonna need it, because I finished Bridgerton and then proceeded to lay on the couch and stare at the ceiling for 3 hours, because I was like, what is gonna fill this void in my life? It's so good. I crave it. I need it. I want it injected into my veins. I don't know what I'm going to watch, because apparently the next season is not coming out for 2 years. I didn't want to go right into Queen Charlotte because I didn't want to just speed through it and then be even more sad. But now I'm 3 episodes in and I've only got 3 left because it's 6 and not 8, and I'm panicking and I need some recommendations. So please, if you've got any, let me know. And if you haven't watched Bridgerton, I highly recommend. I love a period piece. It's also historical drama. It's not boring and factual. I mean, I never think anything is boring, and I like facts. But if historical documentaries are not your jive, this definitely still will be. And now I make Henry speak to me like we're in Bridgerton, and I just love how they say their ages. Benedict Anthony was yelling at Colin, which are the brothers, for something, and Benedict goes, "Brother, but he is of 1 in 20 for 21. I just think that's so funny, so I want to talk like that forever. And then And so, yeah, I finally got on the train, the Bridgerton train, because as I've referenced in some episodes before, I couldn't really watch TV for a long time. Like, I put it off, or I don't know, the mental health was not allowing me to watch new things. And I'm fully back in the era of watching things I love and kind of like participating in all that again. So, it's been super fun. I'm also reading again. So if you got any good book recs, let me know. And then finally, the Olympics is coming up, and I'm so fucking excited. I don't know about you guys, but like ever since the 2008 Beijing Olympics, that shit has been like, I love the Olympics. That it changed my life. The opening ceremony, just everything changed my life. That's like when Michael Phelps was on his shit. It was amazing. I would watch and then get really pissed at my parents because I was like, why didn't you put me in this sport and force me to go? I could have been a fucking Olympian. Well, I was like, you went to tennis camp and cried because they made you go in the swimming pool and wouldn't let you eat. Ugh. Okay. I would cry at tennis camp because we would go swimming after lunch and they wouldn't let me wait 30 minutes before I could go swimming after I ate my lunch to digest. So then I said I'm not going back anymore. That's just kind of how I quit I played sports in high school and everything, but I guess that's why I'm not an Olympian. And then I used to kind of like look for sports. I was like a little bit old to start swimming or whatever. So I was like, oh yeah, like, I don't know. In Rio, I was like searching archery. I was like, I bet I can make it to the Olympics for archery. I just have a Delulu pipe dream of that I'll be an Olympian one day. But I love to watch, respect it so much. It is so fun there, so inspiring. And I can't wait. And I am saying this now that I'm manifesting it. We're setting intentions for 2024. I'm setting this intention for 2028 that I will be in attendance at the 2028 LA Olympics. Saying that now. Clip this in 4 years, Lindsay, with a picture of you in the stands. And then just, I said that was my final, but my final thing, just kind of going back to setting my intentions. I got to talk to a lot of people about my podcast while I was away, and they said one of their favorite things is that I am authentic and just kind of being myself. And so my intention in all of 2024 and the rest of my life is to live as authentically as possible, and to truly be myself in all situations, be proud of myself and who I am, and kind of shed my cloak of shyness, I guess, that I've always carried around a bit, and be confident in myself and my authenticity, and that I do have value and people do like me and I am amazing and I deserve all of the good things that come my way. So yeah, here's to living authentically, and I hope all of you join me in that endeavor. And I know this was a super, 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 super chatty episode, but I hope you enjoyed my little recap. And I'm so happy to be back. Please look forward to an episode every week because we're going to be doing that. I'm going to try to introduce some new stuff too, maybe like a little, I don't know. I'm not going to say anything yet because I haven't got it all fleshed out. However, I will say that this episode is going to go up on Wednesday, but starting next week, every episode will be live on Thursdays, just because that works a little bit better with my schedule. And yeah, it's going to be great. It will enable me to not be rushed and deliver all the quality content that I want to. So thank you so much for tuning in. I missed you guys so much, and I promise to never leave you guys for that long again. Thanks for listening and watching. Leave a comment, give me a 5-star rating if you want. If you don't want to give me a 5-star rating, don't give me a rating because I only want 5-star ratings. Follow me, follow the Instagram, subscribe on the YouTube, leave a review, leave a comment, give me your book recs, your TV recs, and all that good shit. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Have a good one. Bye.